Well, we took a major blow recently. The Southern Utah Wilderness Alliance has won what I believe is a court decision against BLM, forcing them to remanage off road areas in Utah. For the off road community, this is a major blow and what appears to be the first of many. Here's the information I found out. First of all, who is SUA? SUA is the Southern Utah Wilderness Alliance, which they describe themselves as a nonpartisan, nonprofit organization that works to defend Utah's Red Rock Wilderness. I spent about 10 minutes checking out their website, and they have a long laundry list of places they're going to focus their efforts on. It's also very obvious they believe any motorized vehicles are a problem and are kind of senseless. They do not believe BLM have managed the Utah lands appropriately, and they are pulling hard to get things changed. Their end goal seems to be full elimination of motorized vehicles in Utah's BLM areas, believing the noise and wear and tear in the landscapes is senseless and interfered with those wishing to experience the areas in a different way. Here's a recent quote from the organization. Visitors will finally be able to experience stunning Labyrinth Canyon without the noise, dust, and damage that accompanies motorized recreation. Laura Peterson, who is the staff attorney with Southern Utah Wilderness Alliance, goes on to say, for too long the BLM has prioritized off-road vehicle use at the expense of Utah's incredible nature and culture resources. The Labyrinth Canyon Plan represents an important step forward to guide the management of Utah's public lands and reduce the impacts of off-road vehicles routes in this area. So how did we get here? In 2017, settlement agreement forces the BLM to review travel planning of BLM lands. So how did we get here? Well, in 2017, a settlement agreement forced the Bureau of Land Management to review travel planning of BLM lands. So basically, the Bureau of Land Management is required to update resource management plans every few decades. And basically, you can think of these as like zoning areas, as this zone can be off road vehicles, this one's not, that kind of stuff. This is for oil, this isn't. So in 2008, 6 RMPs covered 11 million acres through some very iconic places, and it gave authorization for motorized vehicles. SUA challenged them, presumably through a lawsuit showing that BLM failed to comply or protect these areas from off-road vehicle damage. In a settlement agreement, BLM agreed to 13 travel plans by 2025, specifically in southern and eastern Utah. So basically, they forced their hand. This is coming up anyway, and they said, hey, you need to review these 13 areas, and they're going to try and redo all of them by 2025. This statement alone leads me to believe they will destroy the off-road scene of Moab in the coming future. Of course, they claim to not be against ORVs, they just don't want them in Moab, it seems. They're also strong climate change folks and have great disdain for fossil fuels, especially for just recreational purpose. I do my best to stay out of the political discussion on this channel, but they do seem to thank several Democrat candidates for their support. In short, it's obvious their version of protecting these areas involve keeping anything with wheels out. So what got shut down? Well, a big chunk. Day Canyon Point, Hey Joe Canyon, Mashed Potatoes, 10 Mile Canyon, Hell Roaring Canyon, Mineral Canyon, Hidden Canyon, 7 Up, two of the overlooks on Dead Man Point. But, who's really to blame here? Well, a little bit of both sides, I'm going to guess. You have one side that has a very anti-vehicle agenda who are using the doings of a minority few as an effective legislative weapon. Basically, they can just take any event that destroyed property and say, you guys didn't do what you said you would, and force their hand. When I visited Moab, that city was awesome. It's an obvious off-road enthusiast town. Every trail we did in Utah was clean. I never saw a single piece of trash, which is why this whole story shocked me. It is clear SUA has an agenda, and they feel it's an honorable one. I don't entirely disagree with everything they're doing, but people who deface the landscape with spray paint should be absolutely punished. And I'm also not saying that people who have done that sort of thing are on our side, but we are being lumped together here. I know there are many in the community that pack way more out than they pack in, and the vast majority do their level best to leave as little trace as possible. But there are sadly some who just don't. Just like anything else people enjoy in life, some people have to ruin it. Let's also face it, the government always does this in a heavy-handed way. Basically, SUA has BLM's ear right now, and fines and lawsuits are a very persuasive way to get things changed. So, what do we do? Well, first we have to group together. We can't cast all the blame elsewhere, it will just fracture our side. Support organizations that actively work to protect these trails. The two biggest I found are CORE, which is a 4x4 advocacy group dedicated to keeping Colorado and Utah trails open. The Blue Ribbon Coalition, they have like a Defend Your Ground website. I'll put both the links to these sites in the description box. And it doesn't really matter if you live in these affected areas or not. Eventually, it's going to be your area that you have to defend. And this is where we need to come together. Remember, they have their eyes set on several areas as BLM has to review 13 more travel plans by 2025. They have their sights on many more areas, specifically Moab, which would be a crushing blow to the off-road community. Overlanders, off-roaders, trail guys, all of it. So let's group together and see if we can fight back a little bit.